And hello and welcome to the Top 40 Timeline. And it sounds like Beirut out there.
Sorry guys, there's renovations or something happening below us here.
That's all right, it doesn't matter. I mean, this is a Loosey Goosey show.
Just so they
when
know.
When the dogs bark, we still carry on with life.
It's just so that if they can hear banging, that it's not a malfunction.
Anyway, I'm Big Daddy, Russ Horton, and of course the Top 40 Timeline radio show heard on wonderful radio stations like Radio 365 now in the UK. And it's nice to have them online with us. And of course, we're on FM 108.ca, Radio GTA, Halton Hills Online. And what we're going to do is take the audio portion of this show and play it on the radio stations. What do you think about that? Start doing that this week, so you can hear the show if you can't, if you're on the road or something. And we're on an app now with our local radio station, of course, aren't we? But you can just download.
Are. Eventually we'll have our own app, but for the time being, we were invited to join Rick Sargent with Paladin today. And of course, you can go right to our website and go to the page and download it.
So much more convenient with an app being able to access it.
But that's for the Halton Hills, though. We don't have the air radio or the FM 108 yet. Yeah. But you can listen to our local one for the time being.
All right, so I'm Big Daddy, and of course this is Leah Lywood, and we have Amanda McBassant this is St. Patrick's weekend. And hello to Kenny Tosh, my friend over there. Are you out of your mind, Big Daddy? What he says to me. Are you out of your mind, Big Daddy? Kenny Tosh. So, of course, we got St. Patrick's weekend.
Yes, it's his weekend this weekend.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes. And I'd love to be, I am part Irish.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, Kenny.
Yeah, my descendants were Irish.
Me too, my father's side.
So there you go, so we're Irish, there we are.
I have English on mother's side, and I have Irish on daddy's side.
All right, I'm going to kick it off here. Vocalist, and this is a rock and roll trivia show, by the way, from the Top 40 Timeline video department, apart from the radio department. A few wee tidbits here. Vocalist C. Lowe experienced much tragedy in his childhood. He was only 2 when his minister father died. When he was 16, his mom, also a minister, was badly injured in a car crash. She was paralyzed below the neck and died 2 years later. The final words on this track, "I want to thank you, friendly ghost, I want to thank you, Mom and Dad, for hurting me so bad," are a reference to his parents dying early and leaving him to get on with his life. He was driven by bereavement to make something of himself. The singer told the Observer Monthly, March 2008, "It's created a wonderful career, a purpose in life." This song struck a chord with listeners who were exasperated with the inflation, recession cycle, crime wave, and renewed Cold War with an increasingly aggressive Soviet Union that was going on at the time. A lot of stuff was going on there. These stories were all over the news, making us wonder, isn't there any good news to report? So there you go. That's the story on that. Right? You carry on.
A little good news. Song by Gnarls Barkley was written by the Nashville songwriters Charlie Black, Rory Burke, and Tommy Rocco. When Burke showed up for the session, the other two were watching The Today Show, hosted by Bryant Gumbel. Oh, I remember that one.
Bryant Gumbel.
Gumbel, sorry.
Yeah.
It was one of those periods where every story was worse than the one before. Black recalled in the Billboard Book of #1 country hits. We were sitting there with the first cup of coffee, and I was saying, "Golly, have you been listening to the news? I just can't stand it anymore. It hurts to turn on the TV." In the song, they had Anne Murray wake up to find her kids watching the news. Gumbel gets a mention in the line, Bryant Gumbel was talking about the fighting in Lebanon.
And
that's what it was written about.
That song I had to play like at least twice a day when it was a hit, because I was in radio back in the day, and that song was a huge hit. Are you listening to me?
Yes. Oh. You were in college?
College? No, I didn't say that.
So I thought that's what you
weren't
just
listening
said.
to me. Anyway.
Someone was talking to me. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on the air. That's no problem.
Big ones. I won't make it through without coughing.
Anyway, did you want me to carry on, or you want to take over now?
Well, no, that's what we were quickly doing before you made.
I have no idea what you're doing, so you
Take
guys
this
go
one.
ahead.
Go ahead. Take this
You want
one.
me to take this one?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take this one. Born today in 1903. I got a cough there. Sorry, guys. Lawrence Welk, I guess. Is that what I'm talking about? He was born in the German-speaking community of Schlossberg, North Dakota. He was sixth of the 8 children of Ludwig and Christiana Nieschwandt. No wonder you wanted me to do this one. Welk, Roman Catholic ethnic Germans who emigrated in 1892 from Odessa, Russian Empire, which is now the Ukraine, as a matter of fact. Welk was the first cousin, once removed, of former Montana Governor Brian Schweitzer. Welk's mother and Schweitzer's paternal grandmother were siblings. Welk's paternal great-great-grandparents, Moritz and Magdalena Welk, emigrated in 1808 from Germanophone, Alsace-Lorraine, to Ukraine. Welk decided on a career in music and persuaded his father to buy a mail-order accordion for $400. Can you imagine that, eh? $400? Wow. He promised his father that he would work on the farm until he was 21 in repayment for the accordion, and any money he made elsewhere during that time doing farm work or performing would go to his family. On his 21st birthday, having fulfilled his promise to his father, Welk left the family farm to pursue a career in music. During the 1920s, he performed with various bands before forming an orchestra. He led big bands in North Dakota and eastern South Dakota. And during the 1930s, Welk led a traveling big band specializing in dance tunes and sweet music, and they were too poor to rent rooms. They usually slept and changed clothes in their cars.
Can you imagine? I can't imagine Lawrence Welk sleeping in a car.
Well, didn't have a bubble machine yet. In 1951, Welk settled in Los Angeles. The same year, he began producing The Lawrence Welk Show on KTLA in Los Angeles, where it was broadcast from the Aragon Ballroom, in Venice Beach. The show became a local hit and was picked up by ABC in June 1955. And by 1956, Lawrence Welk also signed with Ben Selvin at RCA Thesaurus for broadcasting of his new Lawrence Welk Show on leading national networks. Well, of course, Welk was a businessman who had been involved in many business ventures. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. One of those days, isn't it, around here? Beginning in the 1960s, Welk was bestowed several honors, and over the years, the Welk's Bank left behind a legacy. And Welk was married for 61 years. Imagine being married for 61 years, eh? Until his death in 1992, when he died of pneumonia on May the 17th, 1992, at age of 89, at his Santa Monica home, surrounded by his family. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is the complete story of Lawrence Welk, right there from beginning to end. And I didn't know he was born in the States. I thought he was actually born in Europe, but he wasn't. He came here, I guess, when he was young, right? But he had the accent. You know, turning on the bubble machine. That's not a North Dakota accent.
I remember when I was a kid, sometimes I would, as a little one, you know, like a young girl, because my grandparents would watch it, and I can remember he'd talk, and I was like, what did he say? Because it just those certain words, they were displaced for me, right? But anyway.
Well, and plus the fact he was a great musician, he was.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Apparently he was a wonderful man, too.
Yeah. So, courtesy of the church bells, here's Amanda.
In 1963, the Man-Hug Blues Brothers attract record company interest with a show at the Marquee Club in London. They later signed with HMV, a division of EMI, and changed their name to Manfred Mann.
Well, who would have known that? Huh? Do one more. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
In 2016, 71-year-old English musician Keith Emerson took his own life after struggling for years with nerve damage in his hands, which hampered his playing. The celebrated keyboardist, songwriter, and producer found his first commercial success with the Nice in the late 1960s and was a founding member of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, ELP, one of the early progressive rock supergroups.
The Nice were a pretty cool band. I used to enjoy
Can you imagine though? At 71 years old at that point, taking your life though, it must have been pretty bad by then. Like it must have.
He must have been
it's his
suffering,
passion, but it's his passion, right? And even then, at 71, as you know, the Stones are all touring in their 80s, so so to speak. But I guess it's it's a part of your life that
You want to tell us about Lenny Kravitz?
Here we go. Yeah, I love Lenny. A Long and Sad Goodbye by Lenny Kravitz is an ode to Kravitz's late father, former NBC News producer Cy Kravitz. Their tumultuous relationship was in part due to Cy's cheating on Lenny's beloved mother, Roxy Roker. She was the star of the 1970s U.S. TV sitcom The Jeffersons. Though father and son remained at odds for much of their lives, they made their peace shortly before Cy Kravitz's death from leukemia in 2005. Kravitz told MTV News, "My dad and I made peace with each other a few weeks before he passed, and we spent a lot of time with each other in those last days. We didn't have the greatest relationship because he had cheated on my mom, and I was basically a mama's boy. It was hardcore. When your mother sits you and your father in the same room on the day he's leaving, and your mother says to your father, 'Don't you have anything to say to your son?' You'd think he'd say, 'Son, I messed up,' or whatever, some redeeming statement. But all he said was, 'You'll do it too.' I didn't know what kind of weight that would carry in my life, and I realized a lot of my demons I had to battle came from moments like those. But we got over it, and the song is about the catharsis." Kravitz actually wrote this before his dad died, but he never played it for him. It would have been too much to handle, he told Rolling Stone.
Well, you don't know. You see Lenny up there and he's a rock star, and you don't think about the lives that these people had right before they were famous.
Yeah.
That would.
And in a lot of cases, I didn't realize it was his mom that was on the Jeffersons. I didn't put that two together. Did you know that?
No.
See, and so you get to see the backbone of where some of them come to with family that's already either in music, TV, whatever. So it's kind of cool.
Okay, so we got Liza Minnelli, in 1948 born. James Taylor also made 19 what?
You said 1948. Liza Minnelli was born.
Oh, I'm sorry, Liza. We're actually 2 years older. 1946.
There you go.
And in 1948, James Taylor also made his entrance as well. And I'll take this one, I guess. In 1974, John Lennon, who was separated from Yoko Ono and staying in Los Angeles, and Harry Nilsson, that was a wild time for him, made the headlines after they got drunk and disorderly at a Smothers Brothers comedy show at the Troubadour in Los Angeles. Why not? Lennon hurled insults at the performing Smothers Brothers and punched their manager before being forcibly removed. What a strange story. Club security attempted to remove the drunken and enraged Lennon, who lashed out, losing his trademark specs in the scuffle. He then, according to Tommy Smothers, kicked the valet. My wife ended up with the Lennon's glasses because of the punches that were thrown. Smothers said actress Pam Grier, who was nearby when the incident happened, got ejected from the club too. The Smothers Brothers, for their part, came to Lennon's defense, offering that they'd incited Lennon by engaging with him while on stage. And they also charged the media with blowing the incident out of proportion. The heckling got so bad that our show was going downhill rapidly, Smothers added. No one cared because it was just a happening anyway, but there was a scuffle going on and we stopped the show. Nilsson, who was, I hear, quite the party animal, who took much heat in the press for being a bad influence on John, said, "It ruined my reputation for 10 years. Get one Beatle drunk and look what happens." I got drunk and shouted. Lennon later remembered, "It was my first night at Brandy Alexander's. That brandy and milk, folks. I was with Harry Nilsson, who didn't get as much coverage as me," the bum, he says. He encouraged me. I'll usually have someone there who says, "Okay, Lennon, shut up." Now, Lennon and Nielsen reportedly had flowers delivered to the Smothers Brothers the next day. Well, that's classic. What do you think about that? And where are we here now? I've lost myself.
Okay.
Oh, John Lennon also wrote an apology letter to Greer. Meanwhile, a waitress who claimed that Lennon assaulted her had the charges dismissed as well. What a wild night for Johnny Boy. Huh? Lennon insisted it never happened at all, while Tommy Smothers added that Lennon, without his glasses, couldn't tell that the figure he threw a punch towards was a woman. Oh my goodness. And there was some girl who claimed that I hit her, but I didn't hit her at all, you know, Lennon said. She just wanted some money and I had to pay her off because I thought it would harm my immigration. So I was drunk. When it's Errol Flynn, the showbiz writers say, those were the days when men were men. When I do it, I'm a bum. So it was a mistake, and hell, I'm human, he says. It wasn't the first time that Lennon raised a ruckus at the Troubadour. A month earlier, Rolling Stone reported that a similarly inebriated Lennon at the club to see soul singer Ann Peebles somehow ended up with a sanitary napkin attached to his forehead. Oh my God. Do you want to know who I am? Lennon said when a waitress questioned why he was leaving a tip on the way out. He wasn't leaving a tip on the way out. Yes, the waitress reported, shot back, "You're some asshole with Kotex on your head." And you just can't make those stories up, can you? Huh?
Okay. All right. In 2003, the Chinese government gives the Rolling Stones a list of songs they will not be allowed to play on their upcoming tour of the country. The list includes Brown Sugar, Honky Tonk Woman, and Let's Spend the Night Together.
Oh,
I guess you got to be careful when you play in China.
BBC, China.
Yeah.
That's
The BBC are worse than China. Or they used to be.
Well, I don't know. Honky
Ridiculous.
Tonk Women? Seriously?
Yeah.
I guess. A Long December by the Counting Crows, as told by Adam Duritz. In the middle of December of 1995, my friend Jennifer got run over by a car, got just creamed. And I spent that whole month while he was just beginning the record, or we were just beginning the record, and most of January and February in the hospital. Each morning and early afternoon, then I would go to the studio, the house where we were recording, and we'd play all afternoon and all night. One day I just left the studio at about 2 in the morning. I went to my friend Samantha and Tracy's house, which is a hillside manor, or at least that's what we called it then. It's just a little house, and I sat there talking with them. I woke them up, got them out of bed, made them talk to me for a couple hours, then I went home to my house. I wrote this song between about 4 and 6, and then went to the hospital the next day, and came to the house, and I played it for the guys before dinner and taught it to them after dinner. It's a completely lively song except for the harmonies. It's a song that looking back on your life and seeing changes happening, and for once for me, looking forward and thinking, things are going to change for the better. Maybe this year will be better than the last. And so, like a lot of songs on the end of an album, it's not about everything turning out great, but at least it's about hope and the possibilities.
That's a great song, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I love that song.
So do I. But that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
Busy December.
In 1987, a Smiths fan held up a Denver radio station at gunpoint demanding that they played nothing but records by the Smiths. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not coming down with something. They did for 5 hours until the police arrived, apparently. It's Denver radio station. I got a frog in my throat. Give me a break. This is live stuff. Can somebody move me down there? Because I have to talk about Neil Sedaka, obviously, right?
There you go. How far down you want to go?
Huh? No, just keep scrolling back up. I love Neil Sedaka.
I was kidding.
I love Neil Sedaka.
He's so easy to get going, isn't he?
You're not getting me going. Neil Sedaka, I love him.
1939. I can't believe it's that long ago.
And he's such a gentle soul. Great guy. Yeah. He was born in Brooklyn, New York. His father, Mordecai Max Sedaka, was a taxi driver of Lebanese Jewish descent. Sadaka's paternal grandparents came to the United States from Istanbul in 1910. Sadaka's mother, Eleanor, nee Appel, was an Ashkenaz. What is it? She was a Jew of Polish and Russian descent. Let's just say that.
Ashkenazi. Ashkenazi.
Ashkenazi. Oh, yeah, okay. He grew up in Brighton Beach, and his father's cousin, Rachel Gorman, nee Cohen, daughter of Isaac Cohen and Callow Cohen. Lots of Cohens there. Nee Sadaka, or Sadaka, spelled with a C or a K. All right.
There you go.
And was married to Morris Gorman, paternal uncle to singer Edie Gourmet. Look at that. See how Edie is tied in with Neil Sedaka.
As I said, you get the family you see that's behind around the people. It's always like, wow.
Gourmet's mother was of Lebanese Jewish descent. Sedaka demonstrated musical aptitude in his second grade choral class, and when his teacher sent a note home suggesting he take piano lessons, his mother took a prime-time job in an Abraham and Strauss department store for 6 months to pay for a second-hand upright. In 1947, he auditioned successfully for a piano scholarship to the Juilliard School of Music's preparatory division for children, which he attended on Saturdays. His mother had wanted him to become a classical pianist like his contemporary Van Cliburn, and Sedaka continued to show fondness for and capacity to play classical music throughout his life. At the same time, to his mother's dismay, Neil was discovering pop music, and his mother eventually acquiesced. Did I get that right? Acquiesced? Pardon me. I can't see it hardly. I'm losing my eyesight too. Acquiesced when Sedaka received a 5-figure royalty check for his hit Calendar Girl in 1961. When Sedaka was 13, a neighbor heard him playing and introduced him to her 16-year-old son, Howard Greenfield, an aspiring poet and lyricist, and they became two of the Brill Building's composers. And in the late 1950s, after the first of many appearances on the Dick Clark American Bandstand, they demonstrated his ability to perform as a solo singer, so RCA Victor signed him to a recording contract. He was soon writing for other performers like Connie Francis, and also contributed some work as a session pianist during his heyday as a pop singer-songwriter. His piano playing is heard on Dream Lover, Bobby Darin's 1959 hit. I had no idea about that. That blows me away. Really? Wow. There are many ups and downs as a performer. On April 7th, 2006, Sedaka was appearing at the Royal Albert Hall and filming for the aforementioned CD-DVD package when he was interrupted mid-concert by a gentleman who walked on stage from the wings. The planned scenario was that Sedaka was to begin performing Amarillo, and after one verse, the audience was surprised at the appearance of Christie for an eventual duet. At the interruption, a confused Sedaka asked, "What is this?" The interloper was a representative from Guinness World Records, and he was there to present Neil with an award from the Guinness World Records. Neil Sedaka is 85. 85. Right on, Neil.
In 2022, Sir Rod Stewart filmed himself fixing potholes on a road near his home and complaining about the state of it. Videos on the 77-year-old singer's Instagram account showed him shoveling gravel in Harlow, Essex, claiming no one can be bothered to do it. In one, he said, "People are bashing their cars up. The other day, there was an ambulance with a burst tire. My Ferrari can't go through here at all."
Can you imagine?
Rod was seen dressed in a tracksuit and high-vis vest while singing and shoveling.
Great showman, eh?
And you should have seen the pictures. When I take the pictures to add this for when I post them. This road, literally, there was more holes. The whole road.
Oh, wow.
There was like little gaps of flat spaces. The whole road was literally potholes.
Arnold Schwarzenegger did that too.
Crazy.
Of course, he's a politician.
There's a handful
as well.
of artists that have gone out and done this. Beatles talking
Yeah.
about Lancashire and
Yeah, well,
right?
yeah.
But I mean, he went right out there and did it. He had a
Yeah.
few guys with him, and that's what they were doing. It shows them.
Yeah.
There's I think even a video showing him doing this. You want to do the next one?
Okay. In 1971, Brewer and Shipley entered the U.S. singles chart with One Took Over the Line.
One toke over.
One toke over
One
the
toke
line.
over the line, man.
Took over the line. The song, which featured
song.
Grateful Dead's Jerry Garcia on steel guitar, peaked at number 10 despite being banned by radio stations for its drug references. Brewer and Shipley maintained that the word toke meant token, as in ticket, hence the line, waiting downtown at the railway station, one toke over the line.
Waiting downtown.
Yeah, that
at
makes
the
sense when you
railway
think about
station.
it. That does make sense when you think about it. I thought it was about token.
I did. If you look at when I posted it, David Wright Smith, my friend who posts occasionally for us, him and I both said, yeah, okay.
Well, that'd be a catchy title for the top 40 in 1971.
But I don't believe-
One toke over the line, man.
I don't believe for 2 seconds it's a token. They'll never convince me of that. A few tidbits here. Let's do this one. Green Day lead singer Billy Joe Armstrong wrote this song, Wake Me Up When September Ends. That's another good song.
Yeah, it is a great song, yeah.
It's about his father who died of cancer on September the 1st, 1982. At his father's funeral, Billy cried, ran home, and locked himself in his room. When his mother got home and knocked on the door of Billy's room, Billy simply said, Wake me up when September ends, hence the title. My father died in September of 82, and I purposely, up until that point, never, ever went there. Armstrong reflected to People, and that's People's Magazine. I think really what I was doing was processing that loss that I had with this person that I never really knew. So I wrote that song for my father and about the loss and how 20 years had passed. And I remember right after I wrote it, I felt this huge weight off my shoulders.
That is, there's another great song. I mean, and you don't know. I mean, you just hear the song, oh yeah, that's a great song, but you don't know
the meaning behind them. That's why I do this, because there's so many songs that we all know and love and hear, and sometimes the meaning, what it sounds like when you're actually listening to the words and what it actually means are quite often two totally different subjects.
At least one feminist group tried to ban the song by Matchbox 20 Push, believing that it encouraged violence towards women. The ploy failed when the band explained that it was about emotional rather than physical confrontation and dealt with female-on-male mental harm, not the other way around. Lead singer Rob Thomas has said that this is evident to anyone who listens to the lyrics and not just the chorus. Thomas wrote this about a high school girlfriend who vengefully broke up with him by giving his clothes to charity. Thomas didn't have money to buy new clothes, so local bands helped him out by giving him t-shirts and other items. Over the next few months, he wore a lot of band t-shirts. Great story on that song, eh? Quincy Jones, go ahead. You can have it.
Yeah?
Yeah, you want me to do it?
That don't matter to me.
Well, you go ahead.
All
Go,
right.
Quincy Jones.
Alrighty, 1930. I love Quincy.
Happy birthday.
Yes. Famed producer Quincy Jones was born Quincy Delight Jr. on March 14th, 1933 in Chicago, Illinois. A multifaceted jazz and pop figure, his career began when he played trumpet and arranged for Lionel Hampton in 1951 to 1953. Jones then worked as a freelance arranger on many jazz sessions. He served as a musical director for Dizzy Gillespie's overseas big band tour in 1956, and he worked for Barclay Records in Paris, 1957 to 1958. Led an all-star big band with the European production of Harold Arlen's blues opera, Free and Easy, 1959. After returning to New York, Jones composed and arranged for Count Basie, Dinah Washington, and Sarah Vaughan, while holding an executive post at Mercury Records and producing his own increasingly pop-oriented records. In the mid-1960s, he began composing for films and television, eventually producing over 50 scores and serving as a trailblazing African-American musician in the Hollywood arena. Excuse me. Jones produced Aretha Franklin's 1973 album, Hey Now Hey, The Other Side of the Sky. In 1975, Jones founded Quest, Q-W-E-S-T, Productions, for which he arranged and produced hugely successful albums by Frank Sinatra and other major pop figures. In 1978, he produced the soundtrack for the musical adaptation of The Wizard of Oz, The Wiz, starring Michael Jackson and Diana Ross. In 1982, Jones produced Jackson's all-time best-selling album, Thriller. In 1985, Jones used his clout among major American recording artists to record the much-celebrated anthem, We Are the World, to raise money for victims of famine in Ethiopia. His work on behalf of social causes has spanned his career, including the Quincy Jones Listen Up Foundation, which built more than 100 homes in South Africa in 2001. The charity aims to connect youths with technology, education, culture, and music, and sponsors an intercultural exchange between teens in Los Angeles and South Africa. Jones produced the 1985 film The Color Purple, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Whoopi Goldberg, Oprah Winfrey, and Danny Glover, as well as the television series The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, 1990 to 1996, starring Will Smith. He also published the magazines Vibe and Spin, and in 1990 he formed Quincy Jones Entertainment, a co-venture with Time Warner Incorporated. Q, the autobiography of Quincy Jones, was published in 2001. In a GQ interview published in early 2018, the music icon said he liked contemporary artists like Bruno Mars, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar, but admitted he was no fan of Taylor Swift's music, saying we need more songs. Man, oh man. Effing songs. Sorry, I can't do it. Not hooks.
You can swear, it doesn't matter.
He raised more eyebrows with comments from another interview published in Vulture around the same time, alleging that Jackson stole a lot of songs and that Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor had slept together. Legendary producer released a statement shortly afterward in which he apologized for bad-mouthing others, signing off with, I encourage you all to please grow with me and keep on keeping on. Love, an 85-year-old bow-legged man who is still learning from his mistakes. In September 2018, a documentary entitled Quincy was released by Netflix. The film was co-directed by his actress Rashida Jones. Quincy at this time is now 91 years old. Yeah, wow. I laughed at that too. Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor slept together. Combinations.
I would never put those two together in the same bed. And I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
You want to do that one?
Well, A Long Way Down from Stephanie is not to be confused with the later Robbie Williams song. This Al Stewart composition is about the original man for all seasons, Sir Thomas More, born in London on February the 7th, 1478. Boy, you're really digging this one up, aren't you? The son of Sir John Moore would become a lawyer and later a judge.
Hey, it's Al Stewart that did this, not me.
Elected to Parliament, he rose to become Speaker of the House, but fell afoul of the monarch, which resulted in his execution. In those days, the king could do more or less what he wanted in spite of Magna Carta. When his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, was unable to give him the male heir he so wanted, Henry decided to divorce her and marry Anne Boleyn, of course. And when the church wouldn't allow him to divorce his wife, Henry, our hero, decided to divorce the church instead. There you go. Do whatever I want. I'm the king, for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean? When More refused to go along with the plan, he was denounced as a traitor and his fate was sealed. He was imprisoned in the Tower of London on April 17th, 1534, executed July the 6th. And I guess the following year, Anne Boleyn met the same fate. Of course, she didn't dodge it either. Moore was canonized in 1935 while Anne walks the Bloody Tower with her head tucked underneath her arm. And she's been spotted a few times. That's a real...
I know, that's up my alley.
Wouldn't you love to go? Have you ever been to the Tower of London?
No.
You'd love to go there.
Of course I would, especially if that's going on. As a paranormal investigator, that'd be a dream.
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
But that's what the song "A Long Way Down from Stephanie" is about.
Oh, okay. I often wondered.
Stewart.
There you go. Well, you guys...
So, here. A Man Needs a Maid. Neil Young wrote this song about actress Carrie Snodgrass, who was his girlfriend at the time. They had a child together named Zeke, who was born with cerebral palsy. They broke up a few years later, and things didn't go well for Snodgrass. She spent a lot of time caring for Zeke and was never able to get her acting career back on track. She died, unfortunately, in 2004. Initially, A Man Needs a Maid was coupled with Heart of Gold and played on piano. It was like a melody. Young said in Shaky, the two went together. The one line cut from the original song became two was, "Afraid, a man feels afraid." Some were upset with the characterization of a woman as a maid, but the song meant no disrespect. Young wrote it in the spirit of the Robin Hood tale Maid of Marian. Critics have also interpreted the song as being more complex than it initially appears. Rather than being a straightforward expression of how badly a man needs a maid, it's a heartbroken narrator trying to convince himself that he could be happy with something simple and emotionless, rather than the rocky ups and downs of a real relationship. The line, "To live a love, you have to be a part of it," hints at him of a real realizing how this is an empty sentiment only concocted to try to ward off heartbreak.
A lot of deep meaning Neil Young songs, and there's one more. And I'm doing this one. Sylvester Stewart was born in Denton, Texas, March 15th, 1943, before the families moved to Vallejo, California, in the North Bay of San Francisco Bay Area. He was the second of 5 children born to K.C. and Alpha Stewart, a deeply religious couple. As part of the doctrines of the Church of God in Christ, to which the Stewart family belonged, the parents encouraged musical expression in their middle-class household. Sylvester and his brother Freddie, along with their sisters Rose and Loretta, formed the Stewart Four as children released a recording of a single local release 78 RPM single on the battlefield, back with Walking in Jesus' Name in August 1956. The nickname Sly was a common one for Sylvester throughout his grade years in grade school, and early on a classmate misspelled his name Slyvester, and ever since the nickname followed him. Isn't that unreal? Sylvester was identified as a musical prodigy. By the time he was 7, he had already become proficient on the keyboards, and by the age of 11, he had mastered the guitar, bass, and drums, as well as in the mid-1960s, Sly worked on as a disc jockey for San Francisco, California soul radio station KSOL. Eventually, Sly and the Stoners became Sly and the Family Stone and became very popular, but unfortunately with the band's newfound fame and success came numerous problems. Relationships within the band were deteriorating, and Stone went on to record 4 more albums as a solo artist. His last major public experience until 2006 was during the 1993 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, where Stone showed up on stage to be entered into the Hall of Fame along with the Family Stone. In 2007, there was a re-emergence of Sly appearances and guest appearances in various shows. Along with James Brown and Parliament Funkadelic, Sly and the Family Stone were pioneers of late 1960s and early 70s funk. Great band. They had so many great hits.
Oh, yeah.
Their fusion of rhythm and blues rhythms, infectious melodies, and psychedelia created a new pop soul rock hybrid, the impact of which has proven lasting and widespread. The most talented musician I know is Sly Stone, Bootsy Collins said in an interview with Mojo. He's more talented than anybody I've ever seen. He's amazing. I worked with him in Detroit. from 1981 to 1983, and to see him just fooling around, playing, jamming is a whole other trip. He's the most amazing musician, but he can't complete a full sentence. I mean, the guy, there's never been a good interview with him. I mean, he used to be a disc jockey. What happened, you know? Hey, Sly, hey, hey, man, I don't know. Like, you can't, I've often tried to take little clips of significant things Sly has said, and there's nothing there. He has never said anything. But I love his music. And happy birthday, old fella. How old is he again? 90?
81.
81. Wow. Dance to the music. No, that's stuck in my head now. Dance to the music.
And there's other ones too. There's so many. I can remember them being on K-Tel, all the K-Tel and Rock Explosion and all those K-Tel records they put out. Mm-hmm. Remember those? Oh my goodness. I had all of them, I think.
Eric Carmen died. I guess we're wrapping this up now. It's finished.
Yeah.
But Eric Carmen died this last week. Greatest rock and roll radio song of all time is "Go All the Way" by the Raspberries. Da, 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 you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, of course.
And it just makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up when I hear that song.
How we got started.
And he died in his sleep, apparently. But you know, when you get older, they start dropping off, man. But I would have thought that Eric would have had a few more years to go. He wasn't all that old. But our condolences to his family, and it's very sad.
Everybody that loved him and knew him,
including
all of us, because I think, as you know, a lot of musicians tend to, over time, you know, you feel like you know them.
Yeah.
You know, even though you never met them, they're certainly not buddies you hang out with, but I think you get to know so much through media and through their music and loving, you know, and the memories they create for you with their music.
I think he was one of the great Cleveland artists, you know. Of course, he had so many solo hits as well. All By Myself, and then in the 80s he had a stack of hits. Yeah. Oh, don't start me off. Okay. Oh,
at least I don't do that to you.
Why is that restarting? Okay, it doesn't matter anyway.
Why? Because I'm rebooting.
You're rebooting it. That means we're getting the hell out of here. Mm-hmm. On the Top 40 Timeline radio show, I'm Big McDaddy this weekend because it's
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
And there's Leah McLywood, and there is Amanda McBassant over there, and we'll see you next week. And let's get out of here on the show here. All right, we'll see you. Assume the position.
Uniting community worldwide. Let's keep doing it, people.
Assume the position.
So I sent them back. Well, like, I did this for a living when I was a kid, delivering pizzas. And how do you deliver pizzas without a fucking